The real reason truck drivers feel constant fatigue. Ask almost any long-haul truck driver how they feel on a typical day, and the answer comes back the same way. Tired. Not end-of-shift tired. Not the kind of good night of sleep fixes. A deep, persistent, bone-level exhaustion that is there when they wake up, follows them through every shift, and is still there when they finally shut the engine down. Most drivers chalk it up to the job. Long hours. Hard miles. That's trucking. But what's actually happening is far more specific and far more important to understand. The fatigue most truck drivers carry is not just tiredness. It is a multi-system physiological breakdown with identifiable causes and real solutions. Why this matters beyond feeling tired. Fatigue in trucking is widely treated as something to push through with another coffee. But chronic fatigue is a clinical signal. Research links persistent fatigue to accelerated cardiovascular disease, immune dysfunction, hormonal imbalance, and significantly elevated accident risk. Studies estimate fatigue contributes to up to 13% of large truck crashes. Understanding what is actually generating that fatigue, rather than masking it with stimulants, is one of the most important health conversations this industry is not having loudly enough. The real causes. Sleep that doesn't actually recover. The most misunderstood cause of chronic driver fatigue is not a lack of sleep hours. It is a lack of sleep quality. Many drivers log 6, 7, even 8 hours in the bunk and wake up feeling no better. The reason is that recovery happens during specific deep sleep stages, slow-wave sleep and REM, where tissue repair, hormone regulation, and cognitive restoration actually occur. A noisy truck stop, a bunk lit by lot lights, a body full of late caffeine, and a nervous system still running hot from 10 hours of driving stress. None of those conditions support deep sleep. The result is a driver who technically slept but physiologically did not recover. Night after night of this pattern creates a sleep debt that caffeine cannot repay. The body falls further behind on its repair cycle, and fatigue becomes the permanent baseline rather than a temporary state. Adrenal drain from chronic stress. Driving an 80,000-pound vehicle through traffic and adverse conditions for 10 or 11 hours is a sustained physiological stress event. The body responds by keeping cortisol and adrenaline continuously active to maintain the alertness the job demands. In short bursts, this is functional. Sustained across a career with insufficient recovery between shifts, it depletes the system entirely. Chronically elevated cortisol disrupts sleep, suppresses immune function, breaks down muscle tissue, and produces the persistent fatigue many experienced drivers describe as different from ordinary tiredness, flatter, more constant, and unresponsive to rest. This is the fatigue of a body that has been running in emergency mode for too long without adequate time to reset. Nutritional deficiencies killing energy from the inside. The standard truck stop diet is built around convenience, not micronutrient content. Several nutrients critical to cellular energy production are almost entirely absent from that diet. Magnesium drives AT production, the molecule that powers every cell. B vitamins convert food into usable energy. Iron carries oxygen in the blood. Vitamin D deficiency is directly linked to chronic fatigue and muscle weakness. A driver running on fast food, processed snacks, and energy drinks is almost certainly deficient in several of these simultaneously. The body can function in that state, but it cannot function efficiently. Energy runs lower, muscles fatigue faster, and every physical and mental demand of the driving day becomes harder to meet. Dehydration hiding in plain sight. Even mild dehydration, a fluid deficit of just 1 to 2% of body weight, produces measurable fatigue, reduced concentration, and declining performance. For a driver who deliberately limits fluid intake to reduce bathroom stops, mild dehydration is not occasional. It is chronic. Blood thickens slightly, reducing oxygen delivery efficiency. The brain, roughly 75% water, operates with less sharpness. Energy drops. And because thirst is a late and easily overridden signal, most drivers do not connect how they feel to how little they are drinking. Sedentary fatigue, when the body tires from not moving. Here is the paradox most people never consider. The body fatigues not only from overexertion, but from prolonged inactivity. Extended sitting suppresses circulation, reduces oxygen delivery to the brain, and triggers a low-energy conservation state. Drivers who sit for 10 or 11 hours without meaningful movement often describe a specific heavy, stagnant tiredness, entirely distinct from physical exhaustion. That is, sedentary fatigue, the body's response to circulatory and metabolic suppression. The muscles have done almost nothing, yet the body feels completely depleted. How it all compounds. None of these causes operate in isolation. Poor sleep reduces the body's ability to manage stress, which elevates cortisol further, which disrupts the next night's sleep. Nutritional deficiencies impair energy production, which makes physical and cognitive demands harder to meet, which deepens the stress response. Dehydration reduces cognitive performance, which increases the mental effort required to drive safely, which amplifies fatigue by end of shift. Everything feeds everything else, and the cumulative result is a driver carrying a fatigue load that grows heavier every year and becomes progressively harder to shake in the limited recovery windows the schedule allows. What actually fixes it? Fix sleep quality before adding sleep hours. Blackout curtains, earplugs or white noise, cutting caffeine at least 6 hours before sleep, and removing screens from the wind-down routine directly address the conditions blocking deep sleep. 6 quality hours outperforms 8 fragmented ones every time. Eat for energy production, not just calories. Nuts, seeds, and protein-rich foods address the magnesium and energy gaps the road diet creates. A basic daily multivitamin covering B vitamins, vitamin D, and iron is a low-cost, high-return solution to the micronutrient deficiencies, silently draining energy every single shift. Hydrate proactively, not reactively. Starting every shift with water before the first coffee, keeping a bottle within reach throughout the drive, and replacing one energy drink per shift with water or a low-sugar electrolyte drink shifts the baseline meaningfully over time. Move at every stop to break sedentary fatigue. 5 to 10 minutes of walking or bodyweight movement at every stop restores circulation, increases oxygen delivery to the brain, and interrupts the stagnant low-energy state that builds throughout a long shift. Drivers consistently report better alertness in the second half of shifts when movement is built into every stop. The constant fatigue most truck drivers feel is not an unavoidable feature of the job. It is the predictable outcome of unresolved sleep debt, adrenal strain, nutritional deficiency, dehydration, and sedentary suppression, all running simultaneously. Each one is addressable. None require a perfect lifestyle or an impossible schedule change. Just a clear understanding of what is actually driving the exhaustion and small, consistent adjustments that give the body what it needs to stop running on empty. The road is demanding enough. Your energy levels should not be working against you on top of everything else.